One of the areas that we heard Minister DeWeaver speak about was the new travel insurance requirement. Um, Curious if you could give us some insights, and I know that it appears to be still a bit of work in progress. Have we seen COVID brought to the island by tourism, by tourists? Or is that number still statistically insignificant as it was last time we spoke? Secondly, when you look at that, tourists coming, when cruise ship tourism returns, how will the insurance apply to cruise ship passengers, and roughly what are the costs looking like, for this type of coverage? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Dr. Stock. The insurance is ready to go. I just needed sufficient time to update the public, update our visitors, to market it, advertise it, but it will not be problematic because it will be built into the same system that we use at stmartinentry.com, which every person traveling to the island, including residents, have to fill in because it allows us to do contact tracing should anything happen. The insurance for cruise, when cruise restarts, they are exempted because they are on the island for less than 24 hours. Also, anyone in transit will be also exempted because it's less than 24 hours and they're not staying on our island. What I would like the public to be reminded of is that the reason that you saw pretty much every minister here today advising us to be careful is that, it took us so long to get off of being code orange, and through our behavior, we're now going to be put back on code orange if our cases keep going up. In addition, countries already have an advisory out to not have their citizens travel to St. Martin, which causes whatever existing insurance they have in those countries to be voided because they received a warning from their countries, from the governments of their countries that they're visiting from. As it pertains to the price, the reason I have waited so long is because I wanted to make sure that our insurance included a medical evacuation for our largest market, which is America. It includes a medical evacuation. It is valid for up to 180 days straight stay without leaving the island. It costs $30 per person over the age of 14. Under the age of 14, it is $10 per person. So again, like I said, it covers quarantine costs, isolation costs, medical expenses, hospitalization. All of the information will be coming out. I think I covered everything you asked me about this insurance, but I believe that it's one of the best ones that we have in the region now because of the fact that we include medical evacuation, whereas Aruba does not include it. Our residents are exempted from it. Our St. Martin residents are exempted from it. And that is it for all. Thank you very much for the opportunity to clarify this.
Minister, we are in 2020. Why is the registry not active if you are this proactive person? I was trying to get, a trailblazer, trying to get a registry that a country really lacks. You asked me if I did researches. Minister, you have an investigation ongoing, I believe. I would urge you, if you don't want to do it, get your investigators to check and see what's going on at the inspection department. I have people paying as much as $1,000 to have a...
Bibi, can you go ahead and ask your question, please, as we are running out of time? Thank you. Can you unmute yourself? I muted you in order to let you know that.
Yes, so I'm asking you this, Minister, that's a clarification about the DMV. You said you obtained a license to 13, if I heard you correctly. We are in 2020. Why is it yet not launched? Because when I asked you 2 weeks ago, you said it is not yet online. Then I'd like to ask you if there has been any adjustment to the law that regulates the renewal of residency permits, specifically permanent residency, Minister. And I can understand you were somewhat surprised when I asked your reaction. There are quite a number of people who came forward and said when they submitted their permit. After the 5 years, they are supposed to have a permanent residency. And they're saying that now the department is asking, or the ministry is asking, for things such as a bank statement and their financial status on the island, etc., etc. What I'd like to know is if that policy has been amended. If it was taken.
Minister Richardson, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Bibi, 2 weeks ago when you asked this question, you referred to it about the legislation. You said, Minister Richardson, a few years ago, you've been working on the legislation, and that is where I corrected you. I said, Bibi, you have it wrong because I wasn't working on the legislation. The legislation already exists. Can we agree? Good. What I said to you thereafter is, there is a DMV in the pipeline, and that remains my answer to your question as to why not. There's various ways it has to work, but bear in mind, Bibi, your next follow-up question was if reference to you saying to me, no, I assume, in the capacity as minister, there's something happening at the inspection department. You, as I have to do by law, is divide the two. As Minister Richardson, I have to conduct myself and operate within the framework of my authority in the law, separate from any sort of work I was doing with the private entity. And you asked me about moving it over to someone else. Yes, I have to do that. That is what we are requested to do and required to do by law. And those are the lines I'm following. Now, what that entity management will do going forward to bring it online is up to them. I'm not involved in that aspect. If you're asking me about the inspection department, that is something separate, and I would have to receive reasonable documentation as to inquire about that. And then your third aspect of question has to do with the permit. I'm sorry, Relaika, because her communication was so long. Honestly, I would need her to repeat the last part. Now she's speaking to me as the Minister of Justice, wanting to know about permits and 5 years. The question isn't clear for me to be able to give an answer.
Thank you, Minister. Unfortunately, as we are limited for time, Bibi, I would request that you do have that sent in writing, as you did pose the initial question to the Minister.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Member of Parliament Bonkamper asked whether we will be going to court. While this was a consideration earlier, and we did have discussions, and Parliament, certain members of Parliament were looking into that aspect, it is still a possibility. However, based on the reasoning that we had at the time, in terms of it was an illegal proposal, that was legally not supported by legal staff, as it was deemed only illegal if it could be enforced without our agreement. So that is what would have made it illegal. And as such, it is then not illegal if we agree. The next question, I believe, was rhetorical, whether I would resign or not if Parliament does not give me the go-ahead in this. if Parliament decides that I should not proceed and that I should tell the State Secretary I'm not signing, then that is the decision of Parliament that has to be carried out. I did not hear in that a wish of Parliament for my resignation. As long as I have a support in this Parliament, I will remain as Prime Minister, and if that changes, then of course I will do what is expected. With the understanding, though, that if Parliament does not agree for us to continue in this trajectory with the COHO as it has been amended with our input, not the COHO necessarily, but the country packages under which it will be managed, we must understand, based on our liquidity position, where we are today, and especially where we didn't expect to be, as we didn't expect what happened with our bond to happen. And if the bond that is not extended, that is expected to mature this Friday, if that takes place, then of course that will negatively impact St. Martin's future borrowing perspectives. As you can see how investors behaved once the CFT made their statements the last time around. Another question was, how can we be sure the Netherlands won't force St. Martin to change another law like it did with the pension laws? I'm hoping I translated that correctly. Unfortunately, we cannot be sure of anything. We know the modus operandi, and in that respect, we will have to be prepared to deal with what comes. We will be transparent with Parliament, though, and inform as much as possible if that is the case. And then, of course, any law that has to come will need the approval of Parliament. So then again, Parliament has the opportunity to do what it needs to do. But I think in the meantime, we should continue to fortify ourselves, strengthen ourselves, so that we are better able to withstand these political pressures. Another question asked by the Honourable MP is, can we get out of this? There is an exit clause within the proposed agreement which states that that it would end automatically if St. Martin informs the Kingdom Council of Ministers that there is no consensus with the COHO. Another option would be that the draft COHO law is not realized, so finalized for some other reason, which could be maybe based on what the Raad van State says or get stranded somewhere else along the way. And the last option would be that the Netherlands and St. Martin, in accordance with the regulation included in the Kingdom law for the COHO, decide to terminate the mutual agreement prematurely that is contained within the Kingdom law. So there are options. MP Peterson asked if I have inquired of the State Secretary if Parliament pulls the endorsement of the Pro Sua Liga organization that it will make a difference. No, I have not. I have submitted my response to the State Secretary, especially seeing that the letter that the State Secretary wrote to me on the 10th was out there in the media. I also forwarded my response so that Parliament, especially having to be confronted with the rest of the information, would have the full picture as well, because everything can be taken out of context. And as such, our response was also forwarded to the Parliament confidentially. And I'm hoping that you have, in the meantime, seen that response. Also, a follow-up letter was sent on the 13th, yesterday. And I have not responded to that one as yet, but the same will be done with those two once we are so far. Oh, the one from the 13th has been sent today. So that is also within your purview to peruse. While MP Emmanuel mentioned that he didn't have questions, I did take note of a couple that were asked in terms of what cuts have we already made in our operations besides the cuts in the 12.5% of personnel costs. Our finance minister has, as everyone here has recognized, done all that he could together with his ministry and other advisors within the island and the Dutch Caribbean to cut costs as well as to try and attract investments and financing. In the operations, we've cut on our operational costs with phone costs, with the gas bun, moving towards cards that is being finalized as that required some more work. And we have also put let's call it a freeze on hiring for 2020, except for critical and budget neutral functions. Of course, as we go into 2021, that may have to be looked at as well in terms of the needed capacity to be able to execute whatever our agenda will be to get the necessary reforms. We've also cut back on overtime in certain areas, and I will request the finance minister to send this information more comprehensively in writing to the parliament.
The membership in the St. Martin Lions Club will help us carry on this tradition of service for many years to come. Our club was founded in December 1970. For 50 years, we have tirelessly served those in need in St. Martin, with projects ranging from healthcare, the youth, feeding the poor, helping those in distress and need, the underprivileged, to particularly our side project. The St. Martin Lions Club is committed to bringing the unparalleled services of Lions International to our community. Our club belongs to Lions Club International, like I said before, the largest serving organization in the world. Throughout its proud history, Lions Clubs International has brought unparalleled humanitarian services to more than 217 countries around the globe and all continents. You will find that membership in our club will offer many opportunities for personal growth. Not only can you experience the incomparable feeling you receive when from volunteering, but you will also have the chance to hone leadership, communication, and organizational skills. You can develop friendships that last a lifetime, meet other Lions from all corners of the world, and contribute ideas that will help our club be an even more valuable part of our community. Your membership in the St. Martin Lions Club will allow us to reach more people in need in both our local and world communities. The officers and members of this club are thrilled that you have chosen to help us continue the legacy of Lions Clubs International by improving the lives of the less fortunate and making our community an even better place to live. I now ask that you repeat the pledge after me. When I say I, you state your name. I, in the presence of the members of the St. Martin Lions Club, you'll have to repeat the pledge after me. In the presence of the members of the St. Martin Lions Club, take this solemn obligation to abide by the Constitution and bylaws of the club and that of Lions Clubs International, to attend all meetings regularly, to support and further the interests of the club in all its undertakings, and to contribute my fair share towards the financial support of the club. I further declare that I will assist in maintaining, building, and strengthening the membership of the club. Furthermore, I will help the club by actively serving on communities and in other capacities where my efforts are needed, and that I will practice the principles of the Code of Ethics and the purposes of Lions Clubs International. By the power vested in me, that's for me to say, sorry. By the powers vested in me by Lions Club International, I now declare you as having been inducted as a Lion in the Lions Clubs International.
The innovative Banco-Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco-Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast. Fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Once again, thank you for the opportunity to answer your question. Look, I'll be very honest with you. I totally understand the frustration of the officers and employees of the Ministry of Justice. It is a long time. One of the things that I did when I got into this position is hit the ground running, and some persons took it as though I'm not, being as communicative as they would like me to be. I'm not meeting with them as often as they would like. But what I try to stray away from is too much talking and not enough action. I am happy that, with the installation of the project group for the function book, for example, it is not just one function book, meaning that of CARPSM that is being worked on and processed, but actually all 9 function books within the Ministry of Justice is being handled. And I'm so happy that the work group has been so diligent with their work ethics and has been so communicated to this project that a commitment is that by December 23rd, the book or the function book of the Ministry of Justice will be turned over to the CCSU for review. The CCSU, in anticipation of receiving the 9 books to review, has already submitted a request asking for an additional 2 weeks. So now they have 8 weeks to review it. I'm very proud about the progress that we're making, but I think that everything begins and ends with respect. And I think that is something that is lacking. At the end of the day, I'm a human as well. I didn't fall out of the sky. I have family as well that is paying attention to the way that persons are speaking about me, and it's not healthy. Even, my mom is a diabetic, for example, and she's taking on this stress. I have to consistently ask her to, calm down. My point of bringing that up is that we need to balance the scale. This entire position, being in it is one thing, but when you sit in this seat and you have to deal with so many different aspects at the same time, it's a lot. Nevertheless, I understand the frustration, and it is based on that I will continue to dedicate my service as long as I'm here in this position. I have no malintent. I have only consideration for the staff, and I look forward to the day when we will be able to put all of this behind us and be proud of where we're taking the Ministry of Justice in its entirety.